let's talk about the power sector, and there's a fair bit of interest coming through. The broad thesis for power sector's utility seems to be very simple. There has been no real big capacity build out, especially on the thermal side, for the last many years. Power demand is rising in a robust way as the economy is doing well. And, companies are now scrambling to either put up capacities or expand on the renewable side. New technologies like pumped hydro storage is also something which is being talked about quite a bit. Let's actually put some of these points to our experts who are joining in on the sector. We have Vikram V, Vice President and Sector Head Corporate Ratings at ICRA. We have Sumit Kishore, Executive Director, Capital Goods, Power and Infrastructure at Axis Capital joining in as well. Gentlemen, good to have both of you here. Thank you very much. Sumit, is that the thesis I outlined? Would you concur with that? Very briefly, your thoughts, starting thoughts.
Yeah, good morning, Prashant. Thanks for having me on the show. I think India's peak electricity demand made a fresh record high of 233 gigawatt earlier this week. Average electricity exchange prices, as we speak, are hovering around 9 rupees on an average for the day. So basically, we see two peaks of power demand on a daily basis. There is a morning peak and an evening peak. The morning peak is met thanks to solar, but managing the evening peak is proving to be a fairly challenging demand, and it is likely to remain so for the next few years. So there is a growing realization in the sector that intermittent renewable installed capacity alone could cross or come close to India's peak demand in the next 3 to 4 years. And to manage this grid intermittency issues that this may trigger, given that we have a thermal heavy generation mix in India, there is a very big push for hybrid wind solar as well as renewable electricity storage solutions.
So that's where this pumped hydro storage comes in, right? I've not new technology in the sector is you don't really come across it too often, right? It's a old, well-established space. Of course, renewables is new in that sense. But talk to us about this opportunity, this pumped hydro storage. Explain to us what it means, what it does, and what is the excitement about?
Yeah, so basically pumped storage hydropower or PSH is a scalable, battery storage solution, which is in focus now because it helps us to deal with the grid intermittency issues and basically the evening peak deficit dilemma that we are finding ourselves in. So basically pumped storage hydro is a configuration of two water reservoirs at different elevations that can generate power as water moves from the upper reservoir to the lower reservoir, passing through a turbine. This is the battery's discharge phase. Pumped storage hydro also requires you to pump water back into the upper reservoir, and that is the recharging of the battery. To recharge it, you need basically green power, solar power or wind power during off-peak hours, which can be used to sort of recharge the battery. And during peak hours, you can discharge the battery and benefit from this whole operation. Obviously, there is a 20% loss of overall power generation because it is inefficient to basically pump the water back into the upper reservoir. But that's still a more efficient battery cost-wise and longevity-wise as compared to, say, a lithium-ion battery energy storage solution.
So this will only come into play in the evenings when there is the issue, when the second peak, power peak.
Not really. Think about it like a giant water battery, which can provide you discharge for 7 to 8 hours in a day. So, you can use it during evening time for peak demand management. It can be used for ancillary, services. And, so it is a battery that can be used for a few hours in a day.
And how many companies are...
When the power prices are high.
Yeah, no, got it. And how much capacity in this space is coming up, Sumit? And is bulk of the new capacity being added here with this technology?
The PSH technology is almost 30-40% cheaper than prevailing prices in the battery energy storage system. India is targeting close to about 19 gigawatt of pumped storage hydro projects through 2032. But the potential in India is 100 gigawatt plus. if we look at data from Ministry of Power. So far, Greenco has taken the lead in private sector. It's an unlisted company, but they are at an advanced stage of setting up a 1.2 gigawatt pump storage hydro project in Pinnapuram in Karnataka. Then this, you have JSW Energy, which has ambition, and they have tied up almost 10 gigawatt of capacity in MOUs with almost 7 states. There is Tata Power, which is looking to set up 2.8 gigawatt of pump storage hydro in Maharashtra, where they have existing rain-fed water reservoirs. Even Torrent has an ambition. And plus the PSUs like NHPC, SJVN, NTPC all have allocations to set up pump storage hydro projects over the medium term.
Okay, so Tata Power, Torrent Power, and a whole host of others that you spoke about. Got that. This pump storage hydro plants is, I think, the next big thing. Vikram V of ICRA is also sitting by with us. Vikram, thanks for sitting by patiently. Of course, I want your thoughts on this, but in general, right, demand trends are also looking very strong. I was reading that in the last few days, the peak demand reached almost, what, 2,300, or rather 235 gigawatts. Tell me a little bit about that. What do you think the growth could be in terms of power demand, and also in terms of, the discussion we were having, the pump storage hydro plants opportunity? How big is it?
Good morning, Sonia. Thanks for having me. Yes, the demand has grown very well in the current fiscal. Yesterday, I think the peak was 233 gigawatt. It's again the all-time high peak compared to 216 gigawatt that we saw last year. This financial year, in terms of the overall electricity demand, we expect a growth of 5 to 6%. April and May were a bit dull because of unseasonal rains, but demand has picked up thereafter in the months of June, July. In fact, August, we are seeing a double-digit growth in terms of the daily demand that we saw from POSOCO. Demand growth potential is there. And given that, just to put some numbers into context, currently the renewable energy contribution to the generation mix in India is about 23%. And this is including wind, solar, hydro, everything. And this is expected to go closer to 45% by the year 2032. So as my colleague rightly pointed out, as the share of wind and solar goes up, solar happens during the day and wind happens during the evening hours, you may not be able to balance the supply with the demand. In that context, you need these balancing sources, either battery storage or pumped hydro storage, and that's where the potential for these projects is coming up. And that's where the National Electricity Plan notified by the government talks about building a 74 gigawatt storage capacity by the year 2032 with a mix of pumped hydro and battery storage projects. The battery storage target is about 47 and pumped hydro is about 27 gigawatt under the National Electricity Plan. This could change depending on the economics, cost economics for these two technologies. But pumped hydro is a proven technology. We've had pumped hydro projects for a number of years in the country as well, but the quantum was very small at about 3.3 gigawatt, which was operational. But now the government is talking about a much larger number to mitigate the risk associated with this intermittent nature of the wind and solar power generation, and to ensure that the grid is balanced and we don't face these challenges going forward as the share of renewables goes up.
Sumit, so is this going to kick off another wave of investments and capital expenditure by utilities? And what does it mean? I mean, people are excited about this, although it's been around for some time, as Vikram also pointed out, because there is so much, tie-ups, etc., plans, etc., being put out here. Almost like a secret sauce for re-rating of some of these stocks in terms of the power utilities. How would you look at it from a stock perspective?
Yeah, Prashant, I'm very bullish on clean energy transition, as I've been sharing on your shows earlier. In fact, in terms of the top sectors where large investment announcements have been happening, the top 3 or 4 sectors include pumped storage, hydro, semiconductors. There is hybrid wind solar projects, as well as the value chain for manufacturing, both solar equipment as well as wind equipment. So these are areas which are seeing growth, in the companies around these value chains are likely to benefit. We have been mentioning that in the private IPP space, we see a medium to long-term growth opportunity in companies like JSW, Tata Power, and in the PSU space, we have been bullish on NTPC. And then there are companies, both listed, unlisted, in the whole value chain for solar equipment and wind equipment manufacturing.
All right, gentlemen, it was a pleasure speaking with both of you. Thanks a lot for joining in and giving us a comprehensive view on the power sector and all that's been happening so far.